there was a commentator after Panini, and I believe after Patanjali, by the name of Nandikeshwar. Curiously enough, this Nandikeshwar is also, some assign him to be the author of the Natya Shastra, the text on dance as well. But what he did is he took these 14 Maheshwar Sutras of Panini that we've discussed now several times, and attributed to each one of the pratyahars an application. Now we're going to have to get back into understanding pratyahars in order to really deal with the heart of the Yoga Sutras. As you may remember, with the Maheshwar Sutras, or the initial phonetics of Panini, they are grouped in what appears to be an unintuitive way. Since the last 1,000 years, and in the way that we consider Sanskrit and Panini today, and the way that I describe this to you, we break up the phonetics into these vargas, where we connect them according to the place, first of all, the place of articulation, and then the various operations that we employ at that place. So we get the ka varga, cha varga, ta varga, and so forth. Now, what the early commentators started doing is assigning things like density and metaphysical qualities to each one of these pratyahars, so that they could be used in an application. We see how 2,500 years later that's used in programming language. But back in the time of Patanjali, he was able to refer to these groups of syllables as demonstrating ways of perception. And this, I believe, is part of what the Yoga Sutras are really all about. Patanjali wanted to make an application of sacred speech, of sacred grammar, in a way of finding out who we are, in a way of obtaining knowledge of ourselves. And by removing ignorance, which he connects with human suffering, we are able to liberate ourselves from the illusory quality of life that is based on a cycle of birth, death, and suffering, and free ourselves from that illusion. So that the Yoga Sutras are the means of actually achieving that, applying the principles, the meta language, and the meta rules of Panini in such a way that we can free ourselves from the bondages and the limitations of the world.
I was wondering if it's a fair summary to say then that um, the understanding that we are reflecting on of language is that we use the sacred syllables as tools by which to achieve an optimized experience in the world.
Yes, I think that you're making a strong point there. You're leaving out though the major components of Ashtajayi though, which are besides the sacred syllables, the phonetics, we have also the meta rules, and we have the morphology and the roots and so forth, all of which must be considered. What I'm suggesting is that Patanjali sees that in the same way a modern computer language programmer can create a virtual reality on your computer screen, that speech, when manifested in the same way, creates your apparent reality. It creates the world that you perceive, the world that you relate to. It relates to your experience of the world, and of course, the results of your engagement with the world, your attachment, birth and death, suffering, and so forth. So, Patanjali is starting at the point of the manifested world, and what he wants to do is break it down, especially with an assumption that it's all being manifested out of language, out of speech, and he wants to systematically break it down to reveal to us how it is that in fact we construct the world. And when we can be in a place of awareness, of total awareness, that we construct the world, and this is exactly how we do construct the world, then we can be liberated from that illusion. This is what I believe the intention is of Patanjali in his Yoga Sutras.